What's up, everyone? It's your boy Matt Diazzo coming at you with some new music reviews. And I'm checking out one of the biggest and probably uh, has a pretty good influence in terms of women being in metal and breaking a lot of stereotypes of women in metal. And that is the band Kittie with their new hot record, Fire. If you don't know who Kittie is a Canadian heavy metal band that's been around since about the late 90s, 1999 to be precise, I think. And they have been well known for being one of the most prominent all-female metal bands in the past 20 years and have consistently been still playing those 20 years. And the band has been consistently the same with two members, with the lead guitarist and the drummer, as they are both sisters. I think their names are Morgan and Mercedes. They've been the most consistent members in the group. They've had a lot of members come and go, but they've kept the band going throughout these years. And with the member changes, and since starting this band, since in like I think high school for them, they've had a lot of genre changes. They were considered new metal at first, and have kind of transitioned to more of a heavy rock sound, but with some heavy metal and some death metal influences here and there. And when they first came out, I think they got a lot of buzz because they were performing on Ozfest, like one of their first few shows. And a lot of people kind of gave them pushback, like, who's this all girl band and everything. And I think throughout the years, especially that performance at Ozfest, changed a lot of people's minds. And one thing that I've always loved about this band was like every girl that I knew that like was into metal and stuff always loved Kittie, and they just always looked so cool. They had a really cool look to them. But I don't know why, for some reason, until recently, I never fully checked them out. I don't know why. It was like one of those bands that kept like slipping my mind. And so I'm really happy that I'm finally really doing a deep dive on their catalog and their music with this new album. I'm probably going to check out their older albums. Their album Spit, pretty good. It's got some bangers on there and everything. So let's get into this review of this album, Fire. The gals and Kittie are definitely hitting things really hard with this album and burning things up specifically with their riffs. I would say like the way they're playing on this album with the guitars, they're not super technical, but they're just really simple and they just sound really hard. Like they got a good rock sound to them. And I think a good example of that is on their opening song, Fire. The riffs sound really nice. Like they're playing them. I think they went with the more less is more approach on this album. And I think it definitely shows like there's some good music being made here. So I'm gonna play Fire for you. It just sounds so oomphy. And I think what really helps with the guitars here is just how they're being produced and mixed and everything. Because like I said, they have a very oomphiness to them. They have a very bold and like large feel to it. And I think with the company of the simple style playing, it makes the album just sound really big. And also the bass playing on here is very thick and just gives all the songs a really good boost in terms of sounding pretty like heavy. I think in terms of the drumming on this album, I feel like they also went with the less is more approach as well, because they have a really simple and tight feel to them, and also they have a really good popping sound to them. Well, not like pop, but they pop in terms of like you can hear them really well. And I think it goes back to the production. Again, whoever's mixing and producing this album, they did a good job of making it sound really good, especially on the track Are You Not Entertained? The drums sound really good there because it's like a very stripped down song, and it's just like the drums and the vocals half the time, but it sounds really good. Like it has a real menacing sound to it. So I want to play a clip of that for you right now. It just feels so powerful. The main vocalist on this album, Morgan, is doing dual duties of like clean and unclean vocals. And I've got to say that the clean vocals, not once did they ever sound bad or falter or seem like they were struggling. She was just always hitting the notes just right with all the the clean singing and everything. The unclean vocals, it was a mix of like, oh, these are pretty good to like, they sound a little strained. They don't sound up to par in terms of like the clean vocals, and it just feels like she's struggling at times with her screaming, and it feels like, I guess, a little not empty, but I guess like I can feel her voice getting ripped and shredded through her screaming. So I'd say not the best unclean vocalist, maybe some more. Granted, she's been doing this for a long time, but it just wasn't hitting as well. It wasn't hitting as good as the clean vocals, especially on the song "We Are Shadows." Yeah, "We Are Shadows." She sounds really, really good on that song. So I want to play a clip of that for you. Like, oh, you hear that note she hitting? Damn, girl, get it. So in terms of things that are kind of holding this album back for me from being better, I think is definitely those unclean vocals. They just don't hit the right time and feeling sometimes. Like it's very, I guess, 50-50. Sometimes, all right, it sounds pretty good, and other times, meh, they're all right. And then another thing that kind of feels, which I was a little surprised by, the lyrics, they're very positive. They're very, very positive, which is great, but they don't seem as creative. And sometimes they seem a little bit too straightforward and too obvious. And I don't know, I expect a little bit like years and years of making music. I feel like the lyricism could have been better, like more metaphors could have been used. But then again, I'm just some random person reviewing music online, not a poet, not a lyricist. I haven't made music yet. Fortunately, hopefully, I can make music in the future. But yeah, it just seems so like she's just handing you what she's feeling, and sometimes that's great. Keep it straightforward. But it would have been nice if there was a little bit more creative writing on the lyrics. Being a band or doing anything for 20 years is definitely a challenge, and I gotta give it up to Kittie. They have a lot of ups and downs. They've never given up, which is a great sign of a great band, great person. Whoever's doing what you're doing 20 years and you had a lot of ups and downs and you haven't given up and you're still producing out some good material, I gotta give it up to the girls. They holding it down. They're doing a pretty good job. And I think I've said it before on this review, less is more. And they did that. It feels like a very stripped down album, and you're getting good quality stuff here. And maybe at times, maybe it's a little bit too stripped down in terms of like lyricism and like the unclean vocals. Well, I guess not the unclean vocals, but like the lyricisms are too straightforward, and the vocals could be improved a little bit. But it's still a pretty solid album, I think, for being in the game for 20 plus years. So give it up to the girls and Kittie. So I would say this album from Kittie, Fire, is a decent and solid 7.5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think about this album, what you think about Kittie, some other recommendations. I'm always open to that. And check out my reaction to their song Eyes Wide Open I did a couple months ago. Until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.